Those who have grown up in a church may not see anything unusual about their worship space. However, those coming into a church building for the first time may wonder at the beauty of the space, but also at its unusual features. Although our individual churches may vary widely, certain features seem to remain the same. Why is there so much glass? Why is the ceiling so high? Why is the altar on a raised platform? How did some of these distinctive features of the church come to be, and why do they persist today? The shape of the church is the topic for this week's edition of The Road. 300 years after the death of Jesus, the Roman Emperor Constantine issued the Edict of Milan, granting religious freedom to the emerging sect of Christianity. Freed from persecution, Christianity grew and prospered, and it wasn't long before the once persecuted sect had become the dominant religion of the largest and most powerful empire on earth. Before that happened, however, fearing persecution both by their Jewish and Roman neighbors, Christians met in secret, gathering in small groups in a house or shop where their activity might not be noticed. However, now that the fear of persecution had been lifted, Christians were free to gather publicly and in numbers. But where? A relatively recent development in the Roman Empire was the Basilica Stoa, or Royal Hall. Wealthy private citizens used them as reception halls where they could welcome important guests and host large gatherings. Larger basilicas were also built for large public gatherings. Columned aisles, both inside and out, provided all-weather space for use as shops, offices, or chapels for worshiping the gods. These basilicas were most often situated in city centers, adjacent to the large public forums and temples, and became centers for public activities and commerce. The basilica was usually divided into 3 long spaces. The larger central space, called the nave, named for its long boat-like axis, accommodated large crowds and was covered by a high vaulted ceiling designed to admit natural light called a clerestory. At one end of the hall, there might be a statue of a god or emperor on a raised platform. This area, called the apse, meaning arch or vault, also served as a stage of sorts from which an orator could speak to an assembly. The domed space acted to amplify and project the speaker's voice so that it could be heard throughout the hall. With the legalization of Christianity, these basilicas became natural meeting places for larger congregations, and some were gifted to the church by the government or by wealthy citizens, becoming centers for larger urban congregations. Some of the largest basilicas included transepts jutting out from the central hall designed to increase capacity. In these larger buildings, the apse might be moved to the intersection of the 2 orientations for better visibility and acoustics. As more basilicas were dedicated for church use, these transepts were sometimes expanded to form a cross footprint. All of these architectural features have carried over into traditional church architecture as it evolved over time. Churches are still often found in city centers, adjacent to other public forums and facilities. We still find the 3-aisled orientation, the central nave, the vaulted clerestory, and the apse with its raised platform, domed roof, and, if not a statue, some sort of symbol of the one we worship. In an interesting shift, modern denominational churches have shifted away from the traditional architectural roots of the basilica to another structure, once also found at the center of ancient Roman cities: the amphitheater. Whereas the basilica was designed for public participation, the amphitheater was designed for public spectacle, focusing the attention of the spectators on the central actors. What shape will the church take in years to come? How will its architecture evolve to reflect its function? Perhaps we will see further down the road.